right, we're back for another episode of the Bad Ideas podcast with Tom Schwab. Thanks so much for joining us.
Nick, I am thrilled to be here. I love this format.
All right. Tell us, so you're the Chief Evangelist Officer of Interview Valet. What's a CEO by that acronym, and what does Interview Valet do?
Okay, so I've got friends that are CEOs of publicly traded companies that work with the stock market and everything. I don't do that, right? I am the evangelist. I evangelize the category, our companies, and our clients. And the category is really podcast interview marketing. We started that a decade ago. And it's this idea of leveraging other people's audience. It's the idea that other people's audience is more valuable than other people's money, right? Why not, instead of trying to break through the noise, get in on the conversation that people are already listening to? And that's what we've been doing for 10 years. It's really an offshoot of inbound marketing, right? 20, 25 years ago when you'd write guest blogs and you'd get out there and get that know, like, and trust. Well, that's what we're doing now. And when I first started it, I'd give my elevator pitch and people would go, "What's a guest?" And now it's really taken off.
We've
got a team of 22. We've always been remote, and we serve about 150 clients at any one time. A lot of nonfiction authors, professional services, category designers, really entrepreneurs that realize that they're not one funnel away, they're one conversation away. And not only are their ideal clients listening to it, but now the data is showing that the large language models are listening to it also. And it's a great way to make sure that ChatGPT becomes your best referral source.
Yeah, that's amazing. Maybe we'll coin something. Have you ever heard the term referral bound marketing before?
I have not.
I think we just invented it. So that's what you guys do. That's super cool. So people listen, then they refer, but it's not link based, it's content based.
It's content. It's sort of that zero click idea. And owners, business owners, entrepreneurs know at their heart, right? If I get introduced by a thought leader and I get to talk with somebody that's an ideal client for an extended period of time, that becomes business, right? And that used to be going to the country club, going to the Rotary Club, being seen on television. Well, now, who's the micro influencer here? Nick, right? You showed up for his show, not for mine. So you get introduced by somebody that already is the influencer. You get to talk with people, and, marketing's supposed to be magnetic, right? Attract the right people, repel the others. And at the end of the day, none of us want more leads. We want more profits. And that comes from ideal customers that value what you do.
There you go. Well, this is good. I'm going to link out to you guys. Maybe I'll become a customer shortly after the show. I just do this because I get to learn from guys like you, and we get to talk about really bad ideas. But before we talk about our really bad idea, I have to ask, so you've done a bunch of things, but you were in the Navy, a nuclear surface warfare officer, which sounds amazing and scary. What was that?
The scary part is that the average age of somebody running the nuclear power plants in the Navy is 21. And so that was my first job out of college. And people are like, "What did that teach you?" Well, it taught me the importance of systems, of processes, of culture, right? When people say, "Well, you don't understand my business, it's too complicated." I'm like, "No, you don't understand your business." Because if they could figure out how to train people in roughly, about 12 to 18 months to run a nuclear power plant safe and effectively, they figured out the system. You just need to figure that out with your business if you're going to scale it.
That's pretty wild. Business to nuclear operation analogy. I think people don't put those two together, but it makes sense. You get a 22-year-old to perform at that level under those circumstances in 18 months. You got to have something that works.
Yeah, and it's really the idea of scaling too, right? If you needed, PhDs from Harvard and MIT to run nuclear power plants, we wouldn't have many of them, right? And it's the same way. If you need clones of yourself in order to run your business,
you're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere. So try to figure out the systems, the processes, and make it easy for people, right? And then find the right people and have the culture that they thrive in.
Yeah. I think you're kind of indirectly getting right at the heart of the show. I think the reason why I wanted to start doing this was I always thought that building a business was almost exactly what you just said. Find people, teach them how to think the way that I do, and then hope they do the things that I would in their shoes, which is very unsuccessful, as you know. But then I started meeting people who built massive companies, and the frequency with which I heard, like, I don't know how they do their job. And it's like, you gave them their job. What do you mean you don't know how to do it? And there's this whole other side of operations that really brings things to life. And you look at some of these companies, like, that's not a very good idea. Or it's a really boring business like TurboTax, but it's massive and it touches everybody and it's connected everywhere. Like, how did that happen? It's operations and systems, exactly what you're talking about. So the theme of bad ideas is bringing smart people like you that have come from amazing systems and run amazing systems and look at really, really bad ideas and talk about how it doesn't really matter what the idea is. It's all about the team and how it's run.
And that's why I love this, right? I think it was Seth Godin, the first one I learned it from. He's like, ideas is 1 through 10, and then the execution is the multiplier, right?
Yeah, 10 to 1,000, right?
Yeah, 10 to a million or something.
Yeah.
So don't wait for that perfect idea. Execute it. And then, when we started this business 10 years ago, people look back now and go, that was a great idea. Well, at the time, it was either going to be great or stupid.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
But you did. Let's look at one, see if this one's great or stupid. I'm hopefully that it's not stupid, but
okay.
I haven't seen it yet. So we'll reveal the bad idea. Then you and I will make fun of it for a couple minutes. And then what tends to happen is we run out of bad stuff to say, and we naturally want to try to fix it. So we'll see where our minds take us. You ready?
Sure.
All right, here we go. So our bad idea is an AI diagnosis mirror. This revolutionary device uses AI to scan your face and offer health advice like, you look tired, drink more water, or that mole is suspicious. This seems very dangerous. This seems like a liability issue waiting to happen. What do you think?
I look at that as what struck me is that you could spend millions of dollars developing this, and the next 2 years, and then the next thing you know, Apple has it free on their watch or something,
Yeah,
right? So that's the one thing that always worries me about development on there. I don't know. Will it work? Somebody's probably listening to this from a few years from now. It's like, that was a great product that got bought by,
yeah,
whoever. But man, it just.
I just think the medical device space, and you have some experience here, but the medical device space, it seems like if there isn't already authorization and everything isn't regulated the right way, like the market can't really exist. And I feel like something like this competes with your physicians. So there's a whole industry that would try to make it not marketable because
that's a great, even in the US, right? Does that fall under FDA? Right. So if it's one thing if I say, you look tired, Nick, you need some rest. Is that a medical claim? No. But if I said, that mole on your forehead is starting to change colors, that could be cancerous, right? Go get that removed or something like that. Or it misses it. Man, now you're making all kinds of medical things and medical claims. I don't know about you, but I'm scared of the IRS and any 3-letter government agency, right? If the FDA, if you started making a claim like that, the big companies and the medical infrastructure, they would be all over you.
Yeah. I think that it's sticky. On the one hand, the potential I see is that it could refer a lot more customers. I think that's one of the challenges in the health space is like the business doesn't operate if there aren't people in beds. I mean, like a hospital is an occupancy business. So it's tough. You want to pay your doctors really well. You want to pay your staff really well. You want to be on top of your admin. So like all the legal stuff is buttoned up the right way. But at the same time, like somebody has to pay for it. Is it the government? Is it the customer? Is it both? Is it insurance companies? So when you're looking for a way to be preventative and take care of the budget, an AI mirror that's constantly referring in patients to you could be useful. It just has to be done ethically, right?
Well, and can it be the right patients too, right? Because I spent time with Stryker Corporation, right? And worked with a lot of orthopedic surgeons. They don't want to see patients. They want to see patients that need surgery. right? And so you see that now. A lot of times, you've got a problem, you're going to see uh, a sports medicine doctor first. You're going to see the physician assistant, right? You're only going to see the surgeon when they know you have to have surgery and you can meet them before they cut you, right?
Okay.
Because it's like that whole thing of, like I said, you don't want more leads, you want more profits
Profit.
and happy
Yeah.
customers, right? So a orthopedic surgeon or a doctor, they don't want to just see a lot of people. They want to see a lot of people that they can help. So I could see that. Maybe that would be something. And this is like the next version of, the Apple Watch or something, the Apple Mirror.
What do you think about that? The health data on the Apple Watch. Have you been exposed at all to how that's shared?
Some people are scared about that. I probably should be, but the way I look at it is, all of this information is out there, right? It's scary how much people know, right? Now that I just said Apple Watch, 3 times, I know what's going to show up in my feed, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I use a Garmin, but it's all out there. And so I think there is data things, and especially with the medical device there, man, you talk about HIPAA, right? I think that's what, like $10,000 per
Instance, yeah.
occurrence or incident. If all of a sudden somebody hacks a Peloton,
Yeah.
okay, that's pisses off a lot of clients. But man, if you hack something like that and it's $10,000 per person, that'll put you out of business quick.
Yeah. Yeah. That's risky. It's interesting. I didn't know that any of the Apple Health data was exposed. Yeah, I think it's all de-identified. I think that's how they get around it. But randomly in a total social circle, I bumped into one of Apple's engineers that works exclusively with pharma to tailor the data streams for them so they can ingest it and learn. And I think that's really interesting that this aggregated real-time data is being used to learn how drugs and treatments actually impact people at a macro level. So it's getting smarter. Maybe an AI mirror would help make it smarter. I think the big red flag I see is the power of suggestion, particularly when it comes to health, is massive. And it could scare people. Hey, you want to get that checked out, you might develop some paranoia, which isn't really a good thing in the long run.
Yeah. So let's turn it into a good idea.
Yeah.
As you said that, I'm like, there's talk now that they're going to cut out advertising for pharmaceuticals and medical devices, right? There's only 2 countries in the world that allow you to do that, to advertise drugs. It's US and New Zealand. The rest of the world, it's illegal, right? Because that power of suggestion, do you have this? Do you have that? Ask your doctor about this, right? And that's driving demand. So if they cut that out, could you get the pharmaceutical companies to sponsor this, right? And Nick, you look tired. You should talk to your doctor about, methamphetamines, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. So it's like an anchor in the home. But I mean, what I like about, I think in business, and maybe you guys do something like this with Interview Valet, but in business, you like to offer a little value before you get into the customer relationship when you can, as long as it doesn't hurt you. And maybe that's what this becomes. Maybe it's like a technical chassis that allows consumers to benefit from all this data that Apple is collecting, for example. We noticed this, and this, and there's an X% chance that this is happening. You might want to check it out when you get time or something like that.
Yeah. And if you took it
that could be
straight
interesting.
B2C, business to consumer, through infomercials or something like that, it might get shut down really quick. But if you come up with the technology and run it through Mayo Clinic or, Hospital for Special Surgeries, John Hopkins, one of those big ones, and they see value in it, you may never build more than 10 units before it's bought by somebody.
And it becomes something bigger.
And bigger, right? And that other one is, one of the big insurance companies just got in trouble for the billing they were doing, right? Because with Medicare Advantage, I think it was, is that the more things they can find wrong with you, the more they can bill for it. So you could see something like that, put this mirror in front of every person on Medicare, right? 65 years old, and just start telling them all the things they have wrong, right? And
Uncle Sam's not going to be very happy. But
but you talk about driving
demand
patients and driving diagnosis. You could make more money on that than Ozempic.
Ozempic is horrifying. We'll keep that off the radar so YouTube doesn't get mad at us. Tell me, so we're kind of arguing this is a good idea. I think there's a lot of positive enthusiasm versus it being really bad. Is that your instinct?
I think it's the execution on it, right? If you take this to direct to consumer, you're gonna lose a fortune and probably get sued out of existence. I would say if you're gonna do this, boy, you're doing that business to get bought, proof of concept and then bought, right? And so I don't know, it's crazy. I think the biggest thing would be the execution on it, right? If you would go and get investors' money and drop $10 million on this and don't get any acceptance with it, that was a stupid idea, right? But if you could take $10 million of investors' money and get, a study out of Johns Hopkins saying that's it's clinically effective, man, that was the best idea ever. So I think it comes back again to
execution over idea.
Execution. And I just say the other thing on that is speed, right? The person that makes the category is going to own it.
Yeah.
And then you'll have lots of other people that just sort of copy it.
If you don't mind asking, how did you guys get started? Like when you had the idea, you didn't know if it was good or bad. What was step one?
Well, I go back to category design, and I had mentioned that. If you haven't read the book, Play Bigger, How Pirates, Innovators, and Dreamers Create and Dominate Markets, it's one of the most influential books in my life. So when this started, it was more of thinking, well, the last business I had, we built that all up through guest blogging, right? And that worked. And then when I sold that business, I was in my sabbatical period, and some people said, well, how'd you do it? And I'm like, well, with guest blogs, but they don't work anymore. And so I hypothesized that you could do the same thing with podcast interviews, right? And this is about 2014. And we tested it. It worked really well, launched it based on, one of our clients' feedback. He actually bought me the name interviewvalet.com and said, here's what you should call it. And so for that first year, we were doing it. And then this gentleman by the name of Christopher Lockhead reached out to me, and he had heard about what we were doing. They were launching this book called Play Bigger. And he's like, sounds to me like you've got a totally different category of podcast interview marketing. And I'm like, nah, it's a little bit of PR. It's a little bit of marketing. And he said, you need to own this before somebody else does. And he sent me a copy of the book. I read it that weekend, and it changed my life. And it's like, yeah, this isn't just a little bit different. This is something totally different, right? Leveraging podcast interviews, speaking directly to your ideal client. So that's really where it came from. And that first probably 5 years was painful as we were trying to educate the market, right? It's like, no, you're not one funnel away, you're one conversation away. But Nick, it's really great when all of a sudden you see other people using the same words and the same concepts. It's what HubSpot did with inbound marketing. Yeah. Nobody knew what inbound marketing was until they really invented the category. And that's why I say I'm the chief evangelist officer. I'm evangelizing the category. I'm evangelizing our clients and our company.
That's awesome. So you just tested it, got immediate validation from a customer, even bought you the name, and you were like, okay, that's enough proof. We'll start to build this as a business.
It sounds better in hindsight. Yeah. I first started with this cheesy little PDF to teach people how to do it. And because I was too lazy, I didn't want to write a whole book. That came later. And then I did a course because somebody told me, oh, just do a course, right? And I launched it, and I would update it like every couple of weeks and based on client feedback. And Nick, I never took that out of beta test because the people that were honest with me said, I don't want to learn how to do this. I just want to be the guest. You take care of all the rest. And I'm like, that's good copy. And so that's when we started to beta test Interview Valet. After a quarter, that's when a client bought interviewvalet.com for me and said, this is what you should call it.
It just went. So validation, like 6 months, you pretty much had a validated concept. You had a general formula of what you're going to sell, and you're ready to start building it out.
I did. The market didn't, right? That took a lot longer. And it's like anything, right? You tell this to some people and they're like, I don't get it. That's fine. You're not my ideal client, right? Even to this day, right? There's people that are like, but I'd rather just throw all my money on Facebook and, I've got a new blog that I'm starting, or SEO, they just changed the model again. So I'm going to spend more money in that. I'm like, okay, if that's how you want to do it, you're a grown person. Invest your money however you want. But the more and more we're working with people that are like, they call it the Warren Buffett rule of marketing, right? Because Warren Buffett always said that he wouldn't invest in something he didn't understand. And so there's so many people that have like, for the last decade, I've been throwing hundreds of thousands of dollars chasing this elusive SEO algorithm. And I never understood it. We had one client came back and he said that his SEO company said he would never rank for these keywords. And then a year later, after doing podcast interviews, he ranked for all those keywords. And they came back and said, well, it must have been because you were talking about it all the time on podcasts. And he's like, so why weren't we doing that from the beginning? So he took his money from the SEO budget and put it more into the podcast interview marketing budget.
There you go. I mean, it all lines up. I think the takeaways from you then are test quickly, pay attention to customer feedback before anything, and repeat the stuff that works. Is that a good way to distill?
That's it.
Would it get the Navy stamp of approval? Is that like half the process or the beginning of the process?
I think
Maybe not the Navy.
I think that's the theme, right?
Yeah.
And the idea that you can have everything worked out perfectly doesn't happen, right? The best piece of fiction I've ever read or written was that business plan, right? Everything was perfect. Everything went up and to the right. And then you get into business and it's like, oh no, they don't like the AI mirror, right? Because that's too freaky. And what's it watching?
They can see their face in it. It's no good.
But they love it when it's on their phone. Okay, because their phone's already with them. Oh, okay. So it's just a variation on the idea.
Appreciate it. Well, that's lots of takeaways. I love that we have kind of real world experience from you, and we'll put your LinkedIn profile up on the podcast if that's okay.
Please,
just because you've done so much at so many different levels. I think it's unique to talk to an entrepreneur with that kind of background. And then when people want to learn more about Interview Valet, do they come to you directly, or you recommend they go to the site? What's the best?
You know what? Easiest way is just go to interviewvalet.com/bad idea. And everything Nick and I talk about will be there. You can see my picture, all my social media will be there. And I'll also put, there's an assessment we have, right? 10 questions for podcast interview marketing work for you. I mentioned the book. You can buy it on Amazon, or if you want to get a free copy of Podcast Guest Profits, How to Grow Your Business with the Targeted Interview Strategy, you can get that there. And if you want to jump on my calendar and see how you could leverage podcast interviews to grow your brand and grow your business, I'll put that all back at interviewvalet.com/bad idea.
Awesome. Appreciate it so much. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Nick.